Welcome back to another ebullient episode of Talking Lamar. In this chapter, I'm talking about my life growing up in the country in Georgia. Let's get to it.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Sorry, I forgot what I was talking about.
What are you talking about?
I am talking to you.
That's just what I was talking about.
It's Talking Lamar.
I mean, I call myself living on a farm. I don't know if you'll call it a farm, but it was a farm because we had a garden. We had about 110 acres. We had a garden. We had cows, and we baled our own hay and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're a farm. But my dad had a full-time job, construction, and my mom worked at the drugstore, and but it was still a farm. And so we didn't go out to eat a lot because we had canned food, we had food in the freezer, all that kind of stuff. But when we did, my dad did not like going in and sitting down to eat with all people in a restaurant. So we always ate in the car. And so,
Wait, what?
yeah, we always ate in the car.
But not fast food necessarily. Like whatever it was, you ate in the car?
Well, most of it was fast food. The only time that we
Okay.
didn't eat in the car is when we went to one of the fish camps, like the Log Cabin Fish Kitchen or the Swamp Guinea. Those two places he would go in. But
There's
otherwise,
no
he liked to eat in the
freaking
car.
way you went to a restaurant as a child called the Swamp Guinea. There's just no way.
Oh
There's
yeah,
no
yes
way.
sir. It just closed not too long ago. The Swamp Guinea Seafood Restaurant, it was right on the Lake Hartwell. So you could come on a boat or you could drive up to it. And they ate family style, which meant you sat down and you would just say family style. And they would bring a platter of flounder, a platter of catfish. They would bring a platter of country ham, a platter of fried chicken. And then they would bring all the sides, green beans, mashed potatoes.
Did you have to sit
coleslaw.
with strangers? Because I've sat at a restaurant where they did it family style, and you had to sit at a table with strangers.
No. You
Okay.
sit down regular. Yeah, you'd have like a table for four, or you'd have like we would go as a big family, and like with uncles and cousins and stuff like that, and we'd get like a table for 12 or something like that, and depending on you got to pick so many meats and whatever, and they'd just keep bringing it as long as you wanted
So-
to eat it. They just kept bringing it.
Lamar, not to put you in the position to mansplain, but I went out on a date with a guy a million years ago when I first moved down south, and he said, I'm going to take you to my favorite fish camp. And as God is my witness, I thought we were going fishing and maybe camping. So I was so bewildered by the lack of fishing and camping at this restaurant. Can you please explain what a fish camp is for people that are going, what?
Well, all right. Well, let me say this. Until I moved to South Carolina, I had not heard the word fish camp. In Georgia, we called them fish houses. It was a fish house, okay? But when I moved up here in South Carolina, that everybody calls them fish camps up here. It's the same thing whether it's a fish house or a fish camp. It is just it's a seafood restaurant, and it's going to have mostly fried fish, and but it'll always have chicken and other kind of stuff. I didn't understand the camp part, and I still can't I can't explain that. I just say it. That's why I still, but when we lived in Georgia, it was a fish house. So,
Okay, so you were as puzzled as I was. You
Yeah,
were
I
like,
was.
what?
I
I don't know
was.
that I'm
Yeah.
up for the camping or the fishing, but dinner
because
sounds good.
when somebody said we're going to the fish camp, I thought we'd be sitting around a fireplace. A big fire
campfire.
outside.
Yeah.
Campfire. Yeah, and we'd be, But anyway, but yeah, that's what we would do. But now, when we ate in the car, he always took a fork with him from home because he didn't like plastic silverware. So he always used a metal fork. And if we stayed in Hartwell, where I was raised, we would go to either the Chicken Burger or the Dairy Queen. And the Chicken Burger had a wide variety of stuff. It had burgers and chicken, hence the name. The Dairy Queen, of course, is just a hamburger place. But if we went to the Chicken Burger, I would get chicken livers, mashed potatoes, and gravy with a side of delicious coleslaw. Yes. I know it sounds crazy for a young kid to like chicken livers, but I did. And they were excellent. Had a lot of crust on them. Man, they were fantastic. And we're back discussing chicken livers. Now, Sheri, I'm going to explain to you about the crust. When you eat a fried chicken liver, it has been dredged in some, milk and stuff, and then it's been put in flour and it's deep fried. And if they do it right, it's like, you know how chicken has a big thick crust on it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
how
yeah.
chicken liver should be. Yeah.
So,
I love the chicken livers.
does a chicken liver taste like liver? Does it have that metallic sort
Okay.
of blood
It
taste that liver
does.
has?
Yes, it does. But now I will not eat beef liver. I will not. I can't eat beef liver. I don't know how I got started on chicken livers, but I did as a small child. I guess my mom would give them to me. And
Do they have
I
a
just got-
chewy texture or a creamy texture or
They're more creamy. They're more creamy than they are chewy. Yeah.
Is he selling you
would
yet,
consider
Max?
creamy.
Is he selling you on the deep fried chicken liver yet?
No. But I'm looking at a picture of the chicken burger because I looked it up online. So I'm getting a real feel for things.
Is it still around? Is it still in
It's there.
business?
Is it the Dairy Queen, or is it the building next to the Dairy Queen?
No, okay. The Dairy Queen is at one end of town, and the chicken livers the chicken burgers at the other end of town. Because when you're a teenager and you're cruising, you would cruise from the chicken burger around the square in the middle of town, and then down to the Dairy Queen, and then you would come back, and you would do that all night long, back and forth.
I see.
Wow.
Just
Well, it
cruising.
sounds very wholesome, kind of American Graffiti meets Georgia. Yeah, I kind of love
Yeah.
it. Okay, go on. Go on.
Now, at the Dairy Queen, they had great hamburgers. I always get a hamburger, onion rings, and a corn dog on the side. And we would sit out in the car and eat that. And then afterwards, we get a milkshake to go on the way home. But sometimes we would go down to Elberton, which is the neighboring town. And our house, we lived halfway between. Our house was directly, if we turned right, we'd be at Elberton in 20 minutes, and we turned left, we'd be in Hartwell in 15 minutes. So it was equidistance. So sometimes we would go down there and we would eat at the Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now, my favorite meal at the Kentucky Fried Chicken was their seafood selection. They don't have the seafood selection anymore, but back then they had flounder at the Kentucky Fried Chicken. So I would always get flounder, hush puppies, and coleslaw with extra tartar sauce. And that was my first foray into the world of being a foodie. I just really liked the whole idea of the flounder. Now, I'm pretty sure it wasn't actual flounder. I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure what kind of white fish it was. They said it was flounder, but it was always in the shape of a perfect right triangle. So it's hard for me to believe that it was actually, but I didn't know any better.
But you're right. This is the genesis of your food, of your relationship with certainly with what other people consider the garnish, like coleslaw and tartar sauce and all that stuff. Wow.
And Kentucky Fried Chicken to this day has still got fantastic coleslaw. It really is. And the cool part about the flounder there is it was the only fish I could get at that time that didn't have them bones in it. It got stuck in your throat, We've talked about this, the whole idea of having a stack of bread, because once you get a bone in your throat, you got to eat that bread to get it on down.
Yeah. Yeah. I have learned, you say that you learn something every day because we'll tell you some freaky weird thing, but I got to say, I will never again eat a piece of fish without some of that white bread on hand after you explained the why.
Yeah. Because, listen, even a really nice piece of salmon sometimes will have a bone. You can get a bone. I mean, you really can. So, you got to be careful. But see, the reason we pretty much were self-sufficient at home because we killed a bull every year. We put up a bull every year. And when I say put it up, we would put it in a stall and feed it nothing but grain for a period of weeks, because cows, when they graze, sometimes they'll eat bitterweed. You know what bitterweed is? Are you familiar with that?
Does it have another name other than bitterweed?
I'm sure it does, but I have no idea. Bitterweed, you can see it when you look across the pasture. You can see it's pretty thick and it's really dark green and it's got a very bright yellow flower on it.
I think I know what you're talking about. Is this the thing where if ruminants like cows eat it, they can get torsion. Their insides get twisted up. Like it can happen to
Yeah,
horses.
you have to be careful. You have to be careful. And with the cows, I don't think it bothers them like it does the horses, but with the cows, it'll make the meat taste bad. So, and even if it's not bitter weed, there's all kinds of stuff that they're eating out in the pasture that is not, it's not the same. So when you put the cow up and you feed it twice a day and you feed it grain and after that, then it's a grain-fed cow. I mean, you think about it. When you look for beef, you look for grain-fed beef. So you couldn't afford to feed all the cows grain every day, but when you picked out the bull, that's
just
what you would do.
Yeah, just the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but now we would take it to the we would kill it, and then we had some people that would come field dress it, and then we'd take it to the abattoir. And when you get to the abattoir, you could have it sliced up into chops and roast and all that kind of stuff. We didn't do that. We ground up the entire bull
Shut the door.
into ground meat.
Not a single steak. Not a single chuck
steak,
roast.
No roast, no steak, nothing like that. Just ground beef. And then me and my mama would bring it to the house and we'd get on the table. And she had a couple of plates. And they were small plates, the perfect size for a hamburger. So she'd roll it up and I'd put down the wax paper. She'd drop it on top of there. I'd put wax paper on top. I'd mash the thing. And then we had an assembly line going. And then after we made up so many hamburger patties, then we would make up hamburger steak patties, which would be, good size hamburger steak. And so that's how we ate that because we never did anything other than that. So I imagine that was some great hamburger meat. I mean, because
it was.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew everything the cow that had.
Yeah.
I understand more and more why you enjoy a silk shirt and a nice restaurant as much as you do. I really do. Like you had a lifetime of the opposite, and now you're here to enjoy yourself. Don't you get it, Max? Like I totally get it.
No, I do. Yeah.
Listen. I never had I saw steaks in the movies, but I had never had an actual steak until I was in high school and I was on the basketball team and we were traveling out of town. It was a long trip. And so on the way back, they had to stop and feed us. And so we stopped at Hungry Bull was a steakhouse. We stopped at a Hungry Bull steakhouse. And so we're in there. I'm standing in line and I know nothing about it. I know nothing about this. And the guy says, what kind of steak do you want? And I'm looking up there and I'm looking. And he said, well, can I help you? And I said, well, I don't see hamburger steak. And he said, that would be the chopped sirloin. And I said, so that's the same thing as a hamburger steak, right? He goes, yeah, but it's a chopped sirloin. I said, okay. And the guy beside me says, don't do that. He said, get a ribeye. And I said, what is that? Because it didn't sound, Anyway, so I wound up ordering a ribeye. And that was the first steak I'd ever had. And God, it was good, too.
What'd you think? Really what was good. That first bite of steak like? Was it just like a revelation?
Yeah, it was good. It was really, really, really good. Now, it would have probably been better had I not covered the whole plate with ketchup and Worcestershire sauce. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
did you order?
You got to walk before you run, baby. You got to walk before you run.
Did you at least have it medium rare? Medium?
Oh no! Oh no! There's no way. I mean, there was a guy asked me that. He said, "How do you want it?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Do you want it rare?" Where I said, "Man, no, cook it. I need it cooked." I didn't realize what a medium steak tastes like until my best friend Daryl. I was driving. I'm in high school, and so we went to his house to eat, and his dad cooked steaks, and he said, "How you want your steak?" I said, "Well done." He goes, "No, we're not doing that." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "No, trust me on this." And so he gave me the first medium steak, and I thought I only ate it. I only started eating it because it would have been impolite not to. Because if you've never had anything but well done meat in your entire life, when somebody sets down a medium steak in front of you, and I'm like, And I looked at Daryl, and Daryl said, no, that's good. And his daddy said, man, that's well done to me. He said, you ask me, all you got to do is knock the horns off of it and wipe its ass and put it on the plate. You know, that was his
I've not heard it expressed that way. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. He said, yeah. I said, what do you, now that used to be a saying. Yeah. Run it through the kitchen, knock the horns off, wipe its ass, and put it on the plate. But after the third bite, I thought, this is a different deal. This is an absolute different deal. And from that point on, I said, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. But up until then, now Carla still eats well done steak. She will not do it any other way.
To me, that's just like it's so hard to chew and it doesn't taste good. Like, I don't get well done. If you're going to eat beef, and I don't very much, but when I do, that thing is mooing. Are you kidding?
Yeah. Well, and see, that's the thing about it is, but here's my deal. And every time we do this, her kids be riding her. How do you do that? I said, look, everybody stop. Is that your steak? No, that's your mama's steak. That's what she wants. That's what she gets. My plan is, if we're cooking steaks here today, this afternoon, I'll put hers on. Later tonight, when everybody else gets ready, I'll go turn hers over, and then we'll put ours on. Because she likes it that way. I've tried to explain it. Listen, we'll go to a restaurant, and I always want her to order chicken. I really do, because it's less trouble. Because if you order a steak at a place and you say, well done, they go, okay, yeah, we can do that. But most of the time, they have a hard time doing it. They really do. And she always gets a filet. But to her credit, she says, if you need to butterfly that, please do. Butterfly, it's no problem. And they'll say, oh, no, we don't need to do that. Boy, when they say that, they come back. Now we got to send it back. So, it's easier.
Lamar, I went to dinner one time with someone who ordered a well done steak, and it got sent back like 2 or 3 times because it wasn't done enough, and you could see the visible pain on the faces of the people who work there. So I believe you. I believe that it's an issue.
Listen, the ghost of the cow is in pain over this.
Well, but it's like I tell them. I say, look, now listen to me. She says, well done. She will never tell you it's too done. Okay? Don't worry. She's not, turn it loose, man. Just leave it alone. Let it sit there for a while. But, that's how she likes it. And Bob eats his well done.
To each
too,
their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
he's a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your steak. It's your steak. It's your steak.
Why is it so much weirder that's how Bob eats it? But Carla, it's not so bad.
You know why? Because while Bob is demanding that you respect the doneness of his meat, he's lecturing you about the doneness of yours, whereas Carla's sipping her drink and looking out the window. That's why.
Yeah.
That's
right. That's
There's no judgment.
Yeah.
However you do it, you do it. But, and the other thing that I discovered at that steakhouse, I had never had any dressing but French dressing. Never. Because my mom would make a salad and she'd just have a big bowl and she'd pour French dressing over it and mix it up. And that was it. And so I got to the steakhouse and I went over there to make my salad, and which was a whole nother situation. That's the first salad bar I'd ever seen. But they didn't have French dressing. And I tried the Thousand Island and I'm like, oh my gosh. I didn't think there was anything but French dressing. I didn't know anything. I really didn't. I did not.
But look what a foodie, not just a foodie in terms of enjoying food, but people may not realize what an amazing cook you are. Mm-hmm. Like once they literally let you off the farm, you really went ham on the whole food situation. You really did.
Yeah. I never get in a hurry. When I'm cooking, I don't care. And I'll go to whatever trouble. I don't care what the trouble is. I want it to be, I want to know if I'm eating it, it's the best possible way I could have made it. I mean, I do like food. I really, really do.
I'm with you though. Like when you're cooking. So Lamar and I are both married to eaters who don't cook. And I think Carla's rule is if there's more than 3 ingredients, she's completely unavailable to participate, right?
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not doing it. Not doing it. Yeah.
And Kevin's attitude is, why go to all that trouble when you can just eat some crap that's in the fridge already, right?
Yeah.
Or some spam or whatever. But I'm with you, Lamar. Like if I'm going to go to I just made a giant batch of ratatouille to freeze because it's just basically a Mediterranean vegetable stew. That's all it is. But all the vegetables have to be chopped, and some have to be browned, some have to be sauteed. They get added in at different times, and it's like a several hours
That's the thing.
worth of work.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the end result, and I make it in a vat so I can freeze a bunch. The end result is like summertime in a bowl. To me, that was worth all the effort. And I'm with you. If you're going to stand in there and cook it. Like go ahead and really go hard.
Yes. And it doesn't hurt. It doesn't. There's no big secret here. You need to have a little bit of salt. Most of the time, you need a little bit more salt than you think you do, especially when you're cooking a steak or something like that. Garlic goes a long way. Clove of garlic here or there. Oh, baby, that's a game. That's a game changer. On the garlic.
I saw a chef on my Instagram reels one day who said, listen, here's why restaurant food tastes better. They're using a lot more butter and olive oil and a lot more salt than you would ever dare. That's why it's so delicious.
Lamar and I agree on one thing in cooking. That's called butter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Butter.
Yep. Butter. But Julia Childs, and her big deal in her cookbook, if you ever go somewhere and you eat a dish and it's the best thing you've ever tasted, there is a secret ingredient in it, and it's always the same ingredient: butter. A lot of it. Listen, I put butter when I make chili. One of the last things I do with chili is I put a little bit of pat of butter in the chili. I put everything. I mean, when I make collard greens, I'll put a little bit of butter. Green beans, I put a little bit of butter. I mean,
you can take a cheap ass piece of chicken or a pork chop and pan saute it. And at the end, throw in a little bit of wine and a handful of fresh chopped rosemary and some butter. And you've got a sauce that tastes like you're at a restaurant. Like butter is the secret to everything. But I want to make a special Talking Lamar request, if I may. Like over the years, you've told all kinds of funny stories about your dad, and some of my favorite being the night he woke you up and made you ride with him to the bootlegger. I mean, you've told some great stories about your dad, but today I learned that your dad did not want to eat in a restaurant with other people, and he would not tolerate a piece of plastic flatware. No. Your dad is such an enigma. I need you to work up a Talking Lamar episode about your daddy, because that man. Don't you feel, Max, like something about Lamar's dad, but there's like a whole bunch of stuff that's a mystery?
He was a drunk. I do know that. I know.
Yeah, he was. He was two people. He was a drunk, and then he was the salt of the earth. If he wasn't drinking, would do anything. I mean, just two different people. It was Jekyll and Hyde. Jekyll and Hyde.
But he wasn't always a drunk. Once upon a time, he was a sweet little boy. And then he was a young man who fell in love with Doris, who became Lamar's mama. And he had a family. Like once upon a time, there was somebody else behind that bottle. And I would love to know what happened to him that he could not have a plastic spoon in his mouth. Wow. Just so interesting.
I'll tell you why the fork was, because he wanted to be able, a plastic fork, you can't cut your food. You take a fork, you can cut your food, with a fork. Plastic fork, you couldn't do that. And he had gotten all of his teeth pulled. He had bad teeth, and he had all of his teeth pulled, and he had dentures. And so he just, he wanted to be able to cut his food up like he wanted to, and he always took a fork with him. Because a spork will only do so much. You can only do so much.
No,
with
so true, so true. I swear to God, if you tell me one more detail, though, I'm going to have to lie down and have a good cry. He had all of his teeth pulled.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, he just, back then they didn't have great dental care, and so he had,
he was
and
poor.
the dentist said, listen, we can fix this. We can fix this. So
Then
and they
no,
did.
that still happens. You know what? That still happens because,
Yeah.
so I wore braces as an adult because my people were poor and we didn't have no orthodonture money, or doctor money, or dentist money, or grocery money, or winter coat money. So I wore braces as an adult, and one day my oral surgeon said to me, my orthodontist said to me, "You're going to be really glad. I know this is painful and awkward and terrible, but you're going to be really glad you did this." We have a patient in my wife's practice. His wife was a dentist, and her parents had all of her teeth pulled when she was a teenager
I'm sorry.
because they said that it would just be easier. Life would just be easier without, the maintenance and drama of having teeth. And that wasn't all that long ago. Like, I'm not a time traveler from another century. That wasn't all that long ago. So that does still happen. And that just broke my heart about your daddy. If you tell me now about his pet rabbit that got eaten by a coyote, I'm done. I'm going to have to go home.
No, but let's think about this. Back years ago, a lot of commercials on TV was stuff to hold your dentures in.
Yeah.
You remember that, Matt?
God, you're right. You're
Polygrip.
so right.
Polygrip.
Right, and you
Polygrip.
don't see that as much now,
No.
right?
Ooh,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, there was
And-
that.
and it was
everybody had headaches. As a kid,
Oh,
I was like,
yeah.
what's with all
Yeah.
these headaches?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
now you know.
Now I know.
You
Yeah.
got your teeth, but you have a headache.
That's right.
But see, now my mom told my daddy, said, "Now look, we're gonna get these teeth pulled. Once you get them pulled, you need," and the dentist agreed. Once you get them pulled, then you go home, okay, and you wait a few weeks, let everything settle, all the swelling, everything down before he fit him for the dentures, because the dentist said that everybody buying Polygrip had got their dentures fitted wrong. He said you shouldn't have to have that. And sure enough, my mom had a partial, but my dad had complete dentures, and he never had to use Polygrip because they fit perfect. They fit perfect.
I swear to God, be a lifelong learner. I have learned so much in this episode of Talking Lamar. That's why you need it. Polygrip. I remember as a kid, and I know a lot of people must have felt this way, because I was living with my grandmother and watching her daytime soap operas with her. And those ads would come on, and all I could think was adulthood is so terrible because you can no longer bite into an apple.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't sure what would happen if your teeth would shoot out of your mouth like projectiles or snap in half. I didn't know, but I just knew when you got to be a certain age, you could not have any apples anymore because of those commercials.
Yeah. And they would all look at the apple with a forlorn look, like,
Such longing.
I wish I could have an apple.
Meanwhile, now we live in a country where we kind of all need to eat more of them, and we're like, no thanks, I'm going to have a donut.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, Lamar, this has been just fascinating.
I'm glad you think so. Well, this does wrap up another episode of a look into the life of the People's Movie Critic when I was a little kid. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Really do appreciate it. We've had fun taking a trip down memory lane. I hope you did. If so, make sure to come on back for the next episode of Talking Lamar, because don't stop. You know I hate a quitter. If you've got any questions or comments or any like experiences, feel free to share them or ask them. We don't care. We need to know. little feedback never hurt anything. You can go to our app, go to the microphone down at the bottom, click on it, start talking. Or if you prefer the phone, you can call 844-52-SHERRY. Until then,